Welcome to FedScoop TV and our series on hybrid IT. I'm your host, Wyatt Cash, and we're here today with Guy Cavallo. Guy is the Deputy CIO at the Small Business Administration. Welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, Wyatt.
I'd like to ask you first, how are you embracing this notion of hybrid IT, and how do you see it better serving your agency's stakeholders?
Sure. One thing that I found is that some agencies are trying to split the two between here's the on-premise team, here's the cloud team. What we're doing at SBA is that we're not segregating that. We're just moving everybody together. A couple reasons for that. If you segregate it, you're going to have one team working on all the new cool stuff, and then you have a team that's going to be left behind having to keep the lights on and support it. But they also have all the knowledge of the information systems. So what we've done is we've combined them, and we've also brought in cloud experts to work side by side with them so we can get the legacy knowledge and start planning how to migrate those things to the cloud. Our goal is not to buy another server, not to buy another storage array, put everything in the cloud. We know with some of our government information systems, some things will go quickly, some are going to take longer. So the people who are supporting the on-premise work, we want them to understand what the cloud is. So we're doing joint training sessions. I hold a weekly lunch and learn for the entire staff where we're covering either agile or cloud technologies and have everybody bring their lunch. And then while that training is good for an hour, the conversation afterwards is even better, where we talk about how would we do that here at SBA. And to me, the bottom line is SBA doesn't exist to be a technology organization. We have a mission to support all the small businesses of America. So if we can make our IT reliable, redundant, available across 24/7, I can't do that on premise. I have to do it in the cloud. Let the cloud deliver that for us. So that's why we want to move everything there, but it's going to take the entire group, not separating our staff.
Well, sounds like a great model for dealing with the cultural as well as the technology issues.
It is a culture, more of a cultural project than a technology project. We know in the industry you can talk to any vendor. They will solve all your problems with their technology if you just move to it, which you can do. But if you don't solve the culture, for example, we're dealing with change control now. So we have on-premise, change control board meets twice a week. They evaluate for an hour what's going on and then approve it or not. And then if they approve it, it gets implemented over the next week. With what we're doing in the cloud, we want to change things every 5 minutes. So that model doesn't work. But instead of segmenting that team separately, what we're doing is having that historic team work with our more agile members of the team on how can we do this process in 5 or 10 minutes.
Well, tell me a little about how you see the hybrid model really enabling you to provide your customers a better service versus the alternative model.
Sure. There's no way that I've seen any government agency that can deliver the uptime of the major cloud vendors. So I don't think it's an inherent government business that we can provide data centers of the same caliber of the big players. So what that does for our customers and the citizens is they won't go to a website and see unavailable or a blank web page because we've had a power outage or we've had a network break or this week we had a brief disconnect with our service provider that took us offline for about 45 minutes. And those are the things that immediately start going away with the cloud vendors having so many redundant circuits that we can't afford in government. Again, we could overbuy and deliver that, but again, that takes away from the overall mission.
Right.
And I'd rather spend less on technology, but be more reliable, more uptime. The easiest way to do it is infrastructure as a service, which is what we're in the process of doing now. Take what we have now, get it out of the physical hardware environment, move that to the cloud, eliminate the hardware failures and the end of life and the hardware buying cycles that we've had to do. I'm sure what you've seen, there's a lot of press and, should you do infrastructure as a service? Is it a waste of time? For us, it's a first step. As ideally, we want to get to platform and software as a service and then not have to worry about patching and maintaining. But that could take years to rewrite all of our applications. So this gives us time to start that process, and then we can start. The end goal will be actually to move out of hybrid IT and be purely in the cloud. That's going to take years to do, so we're taking that step now to get us there.
Talk to me a little about how you see this hybrid approach really fulfilling or becoming part of your overall IT strategy, and also how you see it being able to transform what you're able to deliver for your whole agency.
Sure, part of it is you do need to set the strategy, and Maria Rote and I have drawn the line in the sand that everything new is now going to the cloud. There will be nothing new on premise. So everything that's on premise now is only being maintained and updated for security patches or federal mandates or requirements. As we move it to the cloud, again, talking to our chief financial officer, and I've had this experience in my other parts of my career, being able to tell them that I can give you a cloud cost that's like this every year versus this boom bust cycle of my data centers all at end of life. I need X millions of dollars to rebuy everything, and because our data is growing so much, we better buy a gazillion storage arrays that, of course, in year one, you're using 3% of it. Being able to say to the CFO, we're only going to pay for what we're using, and it's going to be more of a steady state. I haven't met a CFO that's not, I'll sign up for that versus what you have to do. The hard part, I think, for our government is that we tend to ignore those boom bust cycles of when you have to replace massive amounts of equipment. So you look at the daily or the annual costs, it doesn't look like it's having a big impact to the operations. But when you throw in that recycle and that recap cost, that is out of cycle. It's difficult for the agency to come up with money. And when they do, it takes what your question started with, it takes it away from the mission. Because if I need an extra $10 million to rebuy a data center, that's $10 million less that the SBA can spend on small businesses.
Well, and lastly, how do you envision that the hybrid IT model evolving? You mentioned that eventually you plan to be fully into the cloud. So once you get there, how do you envision your agency evolving from there, and kind of what's your longer term IT strategy?
Sure, I think, like I said, our goal is to get everything out of the data center. So initial will be infrastructure as a service. So where I see hybrid IT moving will be some will go to infrastructure as a service initially, and then either switch to platform or software as a service. Some things with the CRM vendors that are available in the industry, you might, instead of rebuilding something, build something directly with software or platform as a service. So the trend I see is the hybrid part will now switch from being on-prem versus the cloud. Now your discussions are going to focus on, do I do infrastructure, platform, or software as a service? So you still have the mixed environments, but I really expect that the on-premise environment will go down to just being your connection to the cloud, and that's part of our strategy at SBA.
Well, Guy, thank you for helping us get a vision for how you see that unfolding, and wish you good luck with that endeavor, and sounds like gives you a lot of opportunity to improve the services that SBA provides the public.
Oh, glad to be here.
Terrific. Well, on behalf of FedScoop TV, I'm Wyatt Cash. Thanks for watching.